Hello, good evening. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
All right, okay. Thank you. How are you all today?
Nothing much.
Why?
Because today was a deadly tight day for me with my kids.
That happens because Sundays are terrible when your kids are actually at home and all that, no?
Yes, definitely, yes.
Okay. That is part of life, dear. Don't worry. Then do I see new names, new people here? Whose first day, Nilupuli? Were you there before?
Yes, ma'am. I was there on last Sunday, but I was unable to join on last Wednesday.
All right, okay, it's no problem. Then Sanjula was there, no? Shamali and Channa is here from Russia. Okay, I think Situmi, right? Okay, no problem. So last time we discussed cognitive development theory of Piaget. Am I right? We could not actually finish the discussion. That is how I remember it. Yes, yeah. Then did you receive your recordings and the lecture material? Hello? Did you receive your lecture material?
No,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
No, madam. No, madam.
But I actually send it to the institute. You all can get it from them because as I told you, you can't be waiting till the last minute to study because psychology without studying you can't do, because there are theories, there are terms, there are concepts that you have to study that. It's on regular basis. So for the last 2 sessions, I have sent it. So I'll be sending the material for this session as well. So better you write to the institute and get the material as well as the recording, because they're recording these sessions. Then you can actually do engage in regular studies. Okay. Now
We got all previous recordings and PDF, all the PowerPoint presentations. Not today one. Not today.
Today's one I did not send.
Ah,
I
right.
was
Okay, ma'am.
talking about the previous ones.
Ah,
Today's
right, right.
ones I did not send. That's
Okay,
actually
ma'am.
yes, I did not send. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Right. Okay. I was referring to the last sessions. Now, I want to first talk about the assessment plan. Now, at the end of the course, that is after 10 sessions, once the 10 sessions are completed, yeah, sorry, the connection issue. If you don't do your regular studies, so that of course I repeatedly tell every day. So I want you to do very well. That's why I'm telling like that. So make sure that you do so, right? And that is for the final exam, but written examination. But we have to do 2 assessments. I will show you the written assignment I give you. I will show you the written assignment I give you. Then you can actually start working on that. And apart from the written assignment, we have to do 2 assignments now. The second assignment will be a presentation. Are you all listening? Any clarifications, you can talk to me. So written assignment, I will show you today, and I'll be sending it to you through the institute. So I'll be giving you 2 weeks time, or the last day when we finish the sessions. I think from the last day, I will give you 2 weeks or 1 week for the written assignment, and you can start it right now. And the presentation that I get you to do, because we have few now, so we can spend time getting you to do a presentation, because a teacher has to develop all these skills in you all, right? So presentations are very important. So for the presentation, I will get you to take any theory. Now we will be discussing theories. I will get you to discuss any theory. For that also, I will send you the assignment in black and white, a 5-minute presentation. So on a theory that you like to actually do your presentation on, the theoretical aspect and the classroom or pedagogical implications. Are you okay with the 2 types of assignments that I'm going to plan with you? Sanjula, regarding the previous material, you have to speak to the institute, right?
Okay, ma'am.
Right, yeah. And then are you okay with the 2 assignments that I'm going to give you? Is it clear to you what I'm going to do?
Yes, ma'am. It's very
Yes,
clear.
ma'am.
Yeah, okay. Now, 1 written assignment, 1 presentation, a 5-minute presentation by each of you. So for both, what I'm going to do, I will be sending you the written document. This is assignment, written assignment. This is the presentation. And I'll be sending you the assignments before Wednesday. So you can go through it, and coming next day, if you have any clarifications, you can ask. Okay, and at the end of the 10 sessions, you know that you have the written examination. So that is how this course is evaluated. You all are evaluated in this course. So I have to tell that also, no? Because otherwise you do not know how you will be evaluated, right? So then, shall we finish Piaget before getting into the rest of the Piaget's theory discussion? Can I ask you so far what we have discussed on Piaget? Can I ask you to? What have we discussed so far about Piaget? In that Piaget's cognitive development theory, he actually looked at it, putting it into 2 components. What are the components?
Excuse me, madam. Sorry to disturb you. Your voice is breaking. I can't hear you anything.
Others
Yes,
also?
ma'am, me also
Oh.
same problem.
All
Yeah,
right,
ma'am. We
okay.
also, yeah,
Today
there
it's
is a
not
matter.
very clear. Now,
Yeah, ma'am.
how is it? Now,
It's clear, but not like other days.
maybe a connection issue.
Yeah, ma'am.
Right. Hope now it is fixed, Kiala.
Mm,
No.
I think now it's fine, ma'am. But sometimes some other sounds are also there. Because of
I
that,
think
your
it's
sound
my
is not
fan.
clear.
Yeah, I think it's my fan. I switched it off. Hope now it is okay. We'll start. If it is really difficult, tell me. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. And now we wanted to discuss Piaget in 2 components. The first component is the cognitive process. So under cognitive process, what are the kind of terms we discuss? Can you remember? We discussed schemata,
Assimilation, accommodation, and equilibration.
equilibration. Very good. And then we started the second component. What is the second component?
Stages of cognitive development.
Stages of cognitive development. Good. Under stages of cognitive development, we discussed the first stage, right? We discussed the first stage. And in the first stage, what is the first stage? And what do you know about the first stage? I told you we will be discussing the 4 stages referring to 5 criteria. What are the 5 criteria? The name of the stage with the age specified. Am I right? Yes. And then how cognitive development takes place during that stage. And then third one, what are the significant cognitive development of that particular stage. And then the experiment conducted by Piaget to see whether these cognitive developments have taken place. And then the implications to education. Those are the 5 criteria that you can use in discussing a particular stage out of the 4. So the first stage we have done. So the first one, what is the name and the age specified? I'm referring to the first stage.
Sensory motor stage.
Sensory motor stage, it's 0 to 2 years.
Okay, I think there's a connection issue today, Kela. It's okay. What's the age specified? Birth up to?
2 years.
Very good, very good. And then how does cognitive development take place during that stage? Through what?
Through the senses.
Yeah, through sensory input, the 5 senses, and then motor activities. Because once we are born, we have schematas like moro reflex, putting your arms and legs outward when you're in pain. Rooting reflex, you can root the mother's body, nipple for breastfeeding, and you can swallow, you can actually cry. These are actually reflexes the child has at birth. So they are coordinated and combined, and then cognitive development happens. So sensory input and motor activities, the coordination and combination of them actually help them to develop their cognition. I gave you the rattle. Once you first show them the rattle, actually they just look at it and they smile at it because they see there's something. And then you shake it, actually they enjoy the sound. So they are all sensory inputs, no colors and sound and all that. And then later on, they try to take it from you and then just keep it with them. And then later on that they learn by shaking it that they can generate noise. Like that, cognitive development happens, and it is facilitated during the first stage through sensory input and motor activities. They combine them, coordinate them, and then actually their cognition develops. Okay. And then what's the study done by Piaget to see whether the child has mastered, no, sorry, what is the significant cognitive development that happens in the first stage, which is termed as the key feature. Normally you call it the key feature. What's the key feature or the highest cognitive development during that stage? Can you remember?
Object permanence.
Object permanence. Person permanence followed by object permanence. How can you explain that? Can you explain it? How can you explain it? The child understands that people and things exist, even if they are not to be seen, heard, or touched or smelled. Right? Before that, right, until they develop this object permanence and person permanence, before that, once things and people are not to be seen, they don't know that they exist. But once they develop this highest cognitive ability of the first stage, that is object permanence, they come to know, and they realize, they understand things exist even if they are not to be seen or heard or touched or smelled. So what's the study done by Piaget for that? What's the study done by Piaget? And even now, with the mentally retarded children, they may be 10 years, but they still at the first is that experiment we discussed that day? Bobo doll experiment. Can you remember? Just respond here. Can you remember the Bobo doll experiment? That's a bit of an issue today, no? I can't help it. I tried my level best to actually fix it. Can't you follow me easily? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you follow me now?
Now, okay.
Time to time, there are distractions, I know. What to do? This is internet is that, no, sometimes. Right. And now hope it's okay. Channa, is it okay now?
It's okay, ma'am, now.
All right. Now you know Bobo doll experiment. Did I discuss that Bobo doll experiment? If you can't remember now, the child, right? The child is showed a ball, and then child actually reaches it. The child tries to grab it and all that. The child smiles at it. And then you hide the ball under a sheet. Bobo doll means, I'm very sorry, not a Bobo doll, blanket ball, right? Bobo doll is something else with bandura, blanket ball. So you put it under the blanket. Then the child does not look for it. That means the child has not developed that cognitive ability, the key feature of object permanence. The child is still not there. But if the child looks for it, once it's hidden under the blanket, child looks for it, and child actually tries to look, may take it from the blanket. That means the child knows that it exists even though it is not to be seen. So the child has developed the key feature or the highest cognitive development of the first stage, object permanence. Are you okay? Please respond.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. We'll go to the second stage. The second stage is pre-operational stage. The second stage is pre-operational stage of cognitive development. This pre-operational stage is from 2 years to 7 years. 2 years to 7 years. Right? You can make notes because we're looking at 5 criteria. So, second stage is pre-operational stage of cognitive development. It is from 2 to 7 years, but it all depends on nature, nurture, maturity, learning, and all these factors affecting lifespan development. And a child with very high IQ or child with a very favorable, rich environment, exposure, they will master it before the time. Okay, this is average child. So, in the pre-operational stage from 2 to 4, you can see 2 sub-stages. In the first stage, there are 6 sub-stages. We are not going to look at sub-stages. But here, it's only 2 sub-stages now. So, the 2 to 4 years, 2 to 4 years, symbolic stage. Symbolic stage. And 4 to 7 is intuitive thought. Intuitive thought. Why do we call it symbolic substage and intuitive thought? During the first substage, that is symbolic thought, the child actually develops his or her language ability. And the child uses actually symbols to represent their thoughts. You can see that children as the mother does in the kitchen. Can't hear. Sanjula Gamage to everyone. What can I do for that, Sanjula? Channa also can't hear. That's an issue, no? How can I fix it? Okay. Then I will actually take my phones off. Now let's see. Is it better now? Is it better now?
Yes, ma'am.
Better? Is it better
We
now?
think, yeah, we think so. But ma'am, sometimes it's okay. But within 2-3 minutes, sometimes we don't hear anything.
Yeah, it's kind of breaking now.
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah.
I have nothing to do. Actually, I'm helpless here. I can't help it because I think it's the internet today. A bit windy and rainy here.
It may be the reason, ma'am.
Yeah, we'll try our level best. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Do you think that we have to stop and come on another day?
Yeah, sometimes I don't know.
Others? Now, is it better?
Now better, ma'am.
Now better. If it is really bad, you let me know. So we have to do something. If we can manage, it's all right. So now the second stage. So the first sub-stage of the second stage is the symbolic sub-stage. There the children use a lot of symbols to represent their thoughts. So you can say they actually you think of a child who is between 2 to 4. They use a lot of other things and they play the role of the nurse, they play the role of the doctor, they play the role of the mother and all that. Their thoughts are represented through symbols, right? And they develop their language as well. From 4 to 7, intuitive thought here. That period, of course, the child is very inquisitive. The child wants to actually learn a lot about their environment. So they will ask a lot of questions from you. They will ask why the sky is blue, why the sky is not red, how does it rain? Lots of questions, because why is this big? Why is this not small? Why does it have a lot of colors on it? Like that, they will ask lots of questions from you, because they have started actually exploring the world in their thinking. So they actually are very inquisitive. So this is 2 to 7 years. Actually, the child before starting school, right? Before schooling, the child in the Montessori and nursery and all that. So how do they develop their cognition? Actually, through play activities. Actually, through play activities, especially during the first stages of the second stage. They engage in different kind of plays, right? Symbolic plays and all that. So you have to actually give the child a lot of opportunities to engage in play. Engage in play means they actually explore the environment. Okay, so they actually develop their cognition through their imagination and engagement in play activities. And then later on, by asking a lot of questions and getting it clarified, they develop their cognition. So that is how during the second stage, the child develops their cognition. And then the key features of the highest cognitive abilities that they develop in this second stage. Now, in the first stage, it's people, person permanence and object permanence. There are other milestones, but that is the highest. So we are discussing the highest. And in the second stage, the highest cognitive development, we can actually denote it to 2. You can take it down: egocentrism and animism. Egocentrism and animism. I think better if I can share the slides with you all. So let me open the slides. Egocentrism and animism. You can take it down, the second stage. The key feature, shedding. I repeat, shedding. Okay, shedding. Let me open. This is the one. I'm sharing the screen. Okay. Here, you know, we are looking at the second stage. You can see the slides, okay? Symbolic play, fantasy play, pretend to be something or pretend activities that are impossible, like flying and all that. Make-believe play, use toys as props. Use one object to stand for another. Those play activities will help them to develop their cognition. So what are the actually key features? Are you listening?
Yes, ma'am.
They have to actually shed limitations during the stage, not developing, shed limitations that they are born with. What are those 2 limitations, especially that we are looking at? Animism and egocentrism. Right. Now, let's see. They have limitations when they are born. They have these inabilities in them when they are born. One is animism, one is egocentrism. During the second stage, they shed those limitations in them. What is the first limitation? Animism. The first limitation, animism, is now the child actually, when they are born, they think that inanimate objects, non-living things, inanimate objects, non-living things have living qualities, They have that false belief in them, Okay, shed limitations, or you can call them false beliefs. Okay? So they think inanimate objects, non-living things have living qualities. That is a false belief that they have, that they're born with. And during the second stage, the child shed that false belief in them. And they know there are inanimate things and they don't have living qualities. Now, I give you an example. Now, when when you think of little ones, those who are during that stage, now the parents say, look at the Handa Mama, right? Look at the moon. Moon will bring you curd and honey. Because the moon is personified there. The child thinks the moon has living qualities. That false belief is shed as a key feature or a cognitive development during the second stage. Now, when a child hits, right, his leg or head against a wall, the parents of the mother, actually mother says, I hit the wall. Why did you hurt my child? Then the child stops crying. Why? Their false belief that is non-living things have living qualities, inanimate objects have living qualities. But as a key feature of the second stage, the child shed that. Okay, so shedding animism is a key feature of the second stage. And another key feature in the second stage is egocentrism. It is also a limitation or a limitation. So it has to be shed. What is egocentrism? The child can't understand the other's perspectives. The child's inability to understand others' perspectives, right? But it is shed as a cognitive development during the second stage. So we call it a key feature. Now, I will first talk about the study done by Piaget, then you can easily understand what it means. The study done to see whether the child has shed egocentrism is the 3 mountain task. Here you can see it in this picture. 3 mountain tasks. The 3 mountain tasks. Here the child is here. And the child is shown a replica of, child is shown a kind of a replica or a model of a 3 mountains. And pictures taken from different angles of the mountain shown to the child. So the child can identify or recognize only the picture taken from this angle where he is seated, and the rest of the angles, the child doesn't actually recognize them as the picture of the 3 mountains. The child has not shed egocentrism. Child is still unable to understand different perspectives. But if the child can identify all the pictures taken from different angles as a picture of these 3 mountains, that means the child can understand different perspectives. Then he has shed that limitation of egocentrism. So Do you understand what I explain? I want to ask you. Do you understand what I want to explain? Is it understood? Please respond. Please respond. Please respond. Do you want me to explain it again or you understand?
Madam, you had better explain it again.
Again, right. Only the two limitations. Is it okay?
Okay, madam.
Yeah. Now, this is the second stage, pre-operational. There are two substages, symbolic substage and intuitive thought. Symbolic substage is from 2 to 4. There the child develops the cognition through language and imagery and symbolic play and different types of play activities, right? Imagination, language, and images and play activities. But in the second half, that is from 4 to 7, the child actually become very intuitive and asks a lot of questions because he's inquisitive. So through asking questions to actually while exploring environment, the child develops the cognition, okay, during the second stage. So we have to actually get them to look at now key features. How do we know whether they have actually achieved the cognitive development in the second stage? So in the first stage, we talk about person permanence and object permanence. They are cognitive developments. But in the second stage, it's different. This time, in the second stage, they actually do away with. They actually remove otherwise, okay? Limitations or false beliefs that they are born with. Then only that we can say they have developed their cognition because they have shed these limitations in them. What are those two? Animism and egocentrism. Animism is the child is born with the false belief that inanimate objects, non-living things have living qualities. So by the time that the child reaches the highest cognitive development of the second stage, the child learns there are inanimate objects and they don't have living qualities. They shed animism, that their false belief that, right, inanimate objects have living qualities. And then the highest key feature is shedding the limitation of egocentrism. What is egocentrism? The child's inability to understand different perspectives. They can understand only one perspective, but it is shed. Now the child develops the ability to understand others' perspectives and different perspectives as well. So to see whether the child understands different perspectives, others' perspectives as well, Piaget actually conducted a study and it's still being done. The 3 mountain tasks. The 3 mountain task is the child is actually shown a model of a 3 mountain as you see it in this picture. And child is seated here or here. So the child can see this angle. But these angles are also possible views. And photographs taken from all these different angles are shown to the child and asked whether these photographs are of the 3 mountains that the child sees. If the child identify all these photographs taken from different angles are of these 3 mountains, the child has shed that limitation, egocentrism. Now the child can understand, even though I see it from this side, from small to the bigger one, taller one, There can be other weave also from taller to smaller or shorter or bigger to small. That ability comes to the child once the child sheds that limitation in the child, that is egocentrism. The understanding of different perspectives come to the child because he sheds that inability or the limitation of difficulty in understanding others' perspective. So that is termed as egocentrism. So the study done, whether the child is now ready to move on to the third stage because he has accomplished all the cognitive development and the highest one is being shedding egocentrism. The study done is the 3-mountain task. Is it okay now?
Okay, madam. Thank you very much.
Yeah. We'll see the summary. I will show you a video also. Then we'll go to the third stage, Putta. Now look at the third stage. Actually, third stage is not pre-operational. This is a small mistake. Right? The third stage is concrete operational stage. What is it? Concrete operational stage of cognitive development. Concrete operational stage of cognitive development. It is from 7 to 11 years. 7 to 11 years. Now the primary child. Okay? Concrete operational stage 7 to 11 years. Now, how do they develop their cognition during the third stage, concrete operational stage? Listen very carefully, the primary child. The child develops the cognition during the third stage through concrete experiences. I repeat, through concrete experiences presented to the child. What does it mean by concrete experiences? Now, if you tell the child, right? If you tell the child, think that you go to another planet and there these things can be seen and all that, the child can't actually have mental representations of them. The child should be given the exposure to a concrete situation. Simple example, the primary school child, if you tell the child 2 plus 2 is 4, the child can't understand. But if you get the child to look at two teak balls, then another 2 teak balls, and then all the 4 together, 2 plus 2, 4. That is how we teach them, right? Then it's a concrete situation. Now, I will give you another example. You want to actually introduce the animal zebra. Without showing a picture, you go on telling the child the zebra is this size and its skin is of these 2 colors and it has stripes on its body and it looks like this. The child can't actually understand it. But if you show them a concrete situation, if you show them a picture of a zebra, they will understand because it's a concrete situation now. Now, you know, primary child. You ask the child in grade 5 scholarship also, it's there. You ask the child, Mala has 5 apples. Mala ate 1. And Mala's sister gave Mala another 2 apples. And Mala's mother gave another 1 apple. Another apple. And how many apples remaining? The child can't calculate it in his or her mind, right? She can't calculate it, but she will actually write it down. I have 4, I ate 1. She might draw 4 apples and then she will cut the one that she ate. And then sister gave another 2, she draws another 2 apples and mother gave another 1. Now she will count. And now child can say, this is the number of apples that I'm having. She actually transform that into a concrete situation. So when you are teaching also to the primary child between 7 to 11, always make sure as teachers that you actually transform experiences into concrete situations. Otherwise, they can't understand. So the language labs, mathematics labs, the abacus is used, no? And then science labs, then pictures, really are, right? Hands-on experience for them to do it and learn. They are very important according to Piaget. Why? Then only that the concrete situations are created, then only that they can understand during 7 to 11 years. Are you okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, others?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Now the highest cognitive development, significant cognitive development during the third stage. Okay. There are several, so many, but normally when we discuss Piaget, we look at only significant ones, right? If you can see that the child has developed them, then you know the child is ready to move on to the next stage. Because I told you, sequence never changes. I explained it to you. Age may change, age may differ, but never the sequence, right? So you want to get the child to master, maybe very IQ low child will take more than the average, okay? So then let's see what are the significant key features. First one, classification. I repeat, classification. Classify karana puluwan වෙනවා, right? So you can look at the activities in a primary textbook, right? You get them to classify fruits and flowers. Sometimes if it is leaves, right? One petal, two petals, different shapes, like that, you get them to classify. If you are a language teacher, you get them to classify according to the names and genders and all that, because they develop that ability during the third stage, the ability of classification. Okay. So you can see the activities that you do, whatever the subject that you teach, you can actually use it as a technique for them to actually learn what you teach. Classification as a technique. Get them to classify. Okay. Then maybe according to different shapes, these are circles, these are triangles, these are squares, like that, according to different colors, different types, like that, you get them today, right? Okay, then another one is seriation. Seriation, you look at this seriation, this picture, from largest to smallest, from darkest to lightest, from smallest to largest, like that. So ascending order, descending order in mathematics. In English language, it may be alphabetic order. Words starting from A, words starting from B, like that. They are all serious. So you can use them as techniques in primary class. Seriation is another ability the child develops during the third stage. And then reversibility. Reversibility. Reversibility, I will type it here. I said classification. Some significant ones, okay? Classification, and then, see creation, and then, reversibility. Reversibility is this. Now you tell the child, okay, 2 plus 2 equals, you give the blank. And later on, you give this sum for the child. Plus, you have the blank, and then say it's 4. So the child has to work backward, right? And then do the sum. That is another significant cognitive development during that stage. So you can actually get them to do it not only in mathematics, even in other subjects, it is possible, right? So you look at primary textbooks. This is the technique in primary textbooks. It's because it's a cognitive ability that they develop during the third stage. And then the highest key feature is conservation. Conservation. Conservation is this. It is related to volume and size and all that. I will actually tell you the Beaker study. And Beaker study is the very well-known study done by Piaget. So let me explain. Now here beakers. You can see there are two glasses. One is tall and thin, the otherwise is short and fat. Okay, spout. So the liquid or water in this glass, shorter one, is poured into a tall one in front of the child. And child is asked the question, which has more water or liquid? If the child says this tall glass has more water or more liquid, the child has not developed the concept of conservation. If the child says both these glasses have the same amount, same quantity, that means the child can understand the concept of conservation. Another example here, these stick balls. The child is shown this, the second picture, which has more teak. If the child says the bottom one has more teak, the child has not developed the concept of conservation. Okay. So then another one is a ball of clay, and you flatten it to a roti, the same ball of clay. There are two balls of clay of the same size, and one is flattened to a roti, and then roti shape. And then the child is asked which has more clay. The child says, the roti has more clay. The child has not developed the concept of conservation. If the child says, both have the same quantity, the child can understand that conservation. He has developed the key feature, the highest cognitive ability. Now, I remember now, maybe so many years ago, when I was of this age, one of my uncles, he used to ask me, which is more in weight, 1 pound of 1 kilo of iron or 1 kilo of wool. So we thought 1 kilo of wool is more, but it's not so, right? Iron is small amount, small quantity, small amount, but wool is a more, maybe very big amount, but the same way. That ability is there to understand. It's the concept of conservation. So what are the implications for the teacher? Creating concrete situations in whatever the subject that you teach, through realia, through hands-on experiences, through pictures, and that is a must for the students and the children to learn and understand what you discuss. Are you okay with that discussion? Are you okay with that discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Okay, now, as I told
Yes,
you,
ma'am.
I will show you Piaget's. I have another one. It's very small. It's actually formal operational stage. Formal operational stage is from 11 plus. They are the child can understand now. He can understand abstract thinking is possible. Imagination is possible. He can go beyond concrete experiences and think in more abstract and logical ways, right? And that ability comes to the child by the time that they reach 11, if he or she is an average child. So showing them really pictures is unnecessary in the secondary school, because they are actually capable of imagination, capable of hypothetical reasoning, logical thinking, and they can actually understand abstract things. So teaching methodology should undergo changes. They can see different viewpoints. Now, this picture that I show you here, they will actually interpret it in different ways, not the same way, right? For one, it can be the autumn. For one, some other person, it can be a different thing, a kind of a conflicted mind. Like that, they will give different interpretation. They're very reflective in their thinking, right? They are very logical in their thing that comes to them during the fourth stage. So then I actually want you to have a look at this. Give me a second here. And then we will talk about implications of Piaget, how you're going to use them in your teaching, right? Before that, I really want you to have a look at this. Right, let me share this, and share sound and share. And tell me you can see the video. Can you video?
I am your narrator, Frank Avella. Here,
Can you see and hear the video?
Yes, ma'am. We can
All
see
right.
and hear.
Let me make it bigger for you and then play it. Okay. Give me a second. Okay.
we are going to take a look at Jean Piaget's theory of cognitive development. We will explore a number of different topics and specifically take a look at his 4 stages of cognitive development. We'll begin with a little bit of a look at Jean Piaget himself. Jean Piaget is a Swiss psychologist famous for his work with children and his theory on cognitive development. Piaget is a pioneer in the field of children's education. He fundamentally changed the way that educators view how a child learns. Piaget had a fondness for biology early on in his life, and later on he integrated his liking for philosophy. Before psychology, he was trained in natural history and philosophy. Regarding philosophy, his focus became epistemology, which is described as a branch of philosophy that is concerned with knowledge and rational belief systems. Now, let's review some of the important ideas used by Piaget. He spoke of schemas, which are different categories of learning that we use to understand the world around us. Schemas are the building blocks of knowledge. Assimilation is another important term. Assimilation is where we change new information to fit into a schema. For example, when a child learns the word dog, they might call all 4-legged animals dogs, even horses, for example. Next is an accommodation, where an adult may tell the child that, you know what, this is a dog, and differentiate between a dog and a horse by showing examples. An important idea of Piaget is that children are active learners, and that they precipitate their own learning process. Learning is a response to something new. Now, we'll do a brief overview of Piaget's cognitive development theory. The theory describes that cognitive development in children. Essentially, the theory breaks down cognitive development into 4 different stages. Each stage represents a different level of mental development in the child. During his time, Piaget's theory was thought as an important landmark in the field of psychology. His work led to the findings and research of many others who followed in his footsteps. Interestingly, he actually used his own children, of which he had 3, for his own research. Some saw that as a potential problem. Now, let's get to the 4 stages of cognitive development. The first stage is the sensory motor stage. This stage lasts from birth age to about 2 years old. Here, children experience the world through their senses and movement. Children exhibit a variety of different reflexes. Rooting is one example. Also, you'll see them gazing into the world. An important component is object permanence, where children learn that objects continue to exist even when that child leaves the room. So at first they're afraid that their teddy is gone forever. During this stage, children will continually suck on their thumbs, also reflective and soothing for the child. Children also become increasingly mobile, crawling and then walking, and they learn their actions cause real consequences in the world around them. Right now, I'm going to take a quick break and ask that you please subscribe to this channel, hit the thumbs up button, and give it a like as well, and check the description links for a PowerPoint to this presentation. Now let's get back to it. The next stage is the pre-operational stage. This stage lasts from age 2 up until about the age 7. In this stage, children are able to think about things symbolically. During this time, children will engage in pretend play, maybe thinking that they're a superhero. They may have an imaginary friend. Children are also able to have object representation. For example, they may draw pictures of their families and assign defining characteristics in the picture to those family members. Children during this stage are also egocentric, meaning that they basically only think about themselves. They don't imagine the other person's point of view. Also, children in this stage are very curious about life. A kindergarten teacher gets asked more questions than you can think of. The third stage is concrete operational stage. In this stage, children begin to think logically about concrete results. Children become better at classifying objects. For example, differentiating between books and magazines. Consider their characteristics. The idea of conservation develops, and children learn that you can take sand out of one box and move it into another box, and there is still the same amount of sand. Nothing changed. Inductive logic is a component. Children are able to solve concrete, hands-on problems in a logical manner. They also understand the idea of reversing. Children become less egocentric and begin to understand someone else's point of view exists. And now on to the last of the 4 stages, which is the formal operational stage. This stage lasts from about age 12 and beyond. Here, children understand the abstract and deductive reasoning. Abstract thinking is the ability to understand concepts that are real, such as freedom or being vulnerable, but which are not directly tied to physical or concrete objects and experiences. Children also become more of a scientific thinker. They're able to take their logic and apply it to problem-solving situations. During this stage, children begin to develop their own sense of identity. They begin to think who they are, what's their place in this world. And lastly, children begin to take up social issues and social causes of justice. They begin to examine their own morals. So that about sums up our 4 stages of cognitive development. Now we're going to take a look at some criticism on the 4 stages.
Criticisms, of course,
The first
we don't
criticism being
discuss,
that
so
there are
I'll
actually
stop
cultural
there, okay?
differences.
Normally, the criticism is that he used his own children first for these experiments and all that, okay? That is not actually relevant to us. Are you okay with what you saw?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, okay. So then, what are the implications? You can actually now think of the implications of Piaget. Piaget talks about giving them hands-on experiences, right? Always give the children, they are active learners, give them hands-on experiences. Do it and learn, right? Do it and learn. Second one is mental readiness, right? You have to wait until they are ready to learn. That is why, during this stage that they will develop these cognitive abilities. During the second stage, they develop these abilities. So until that time comes, you have to wait. So the concept of readiness, that is very important according to Piaget, the second one. Third one, the teachers in their pedagogical approaches, if not teaching and learning, they have to actually create disequilibrium for the development of cognition. Then they will naturally try equilibration through assimilation and accommodation and develop their schematas, change their schematas. That is what happens in education and teaching and learning and developing their cognition. So the teacher's responsibility is to present new experiences, and get them to actually be try back the equilibration through assimilation and accommodation. And then when you're dealing with young children, you have to actually give them a lot of sensory input. You have to get them to engage in a lot of motor activities. And you have to get them to actually learn through concrete situations if they are in the primary grade, through the use of visuals, realia, and all that. And you have to teach them in labs, science labs, language labs, mathematics labs, and all that for that reason. Okay. And then when they grow older, they are capable of abstract thinking. So you have to actually give them challenging tasks where they have to actually think logically, engage in reflective thinking and all that once they actually come to that age. So give them hands-on experiences is the most important, according to Piaget. So with that, I think that I can actually stop the discussion on Piaget. So you can actually read more on Piaget, but don't go for unnecessary details like the first stage has 6 sub-stages, how it happens and all that irrelevant to you, right? So what I discuss is the areas that is very relevant to you. On those areas that you can read more and be thorough with Piaget's implications in pedagogical approaches. Are you okay with that discussion? Are you okay?
Yes, ma'am, we are okay.
Right, okay. Now we have less participants. We had 10, now only 7. Some have got disconnected. Now I'm going to, now I have another
Yeah, ma'am,
topic.
because of the, I think, internet issue, maybe less
Yeah,
number
that
of
may
people.
be. Yeah, maybe. And it's a rainy weather here.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah. What about in
It may be
Russia?
the reason, ma'am. In my case, here weather is very good, ma'am. But the thing is, I also don't hear well with the situation.
Because of the my end, it's not stable, no?
Yeah, internet, yeah, not stable. But here, it's okay.
Okay. Now I will show you your written
From your
assignment,
side, yeah, ma'am, there are some issues.
right? I will show. Now today I will be discussing another topic, that is cognition. How our cognition works. What is meant by cognition and how our cognition works. That is our second topic today. And before that, I will show you the assignment, the written assignment that I have prepared. Okay, I'll be sending both assignments by tomorrow, and you can go through it and see if you have any clarifications. We can discuss it next day, but today the written assignment, of course, I already have. So let me show you the written assignment. Data. Okay. Sample assignment. Right. Now here, this is what I have given you as, will give you as the written assignment. You can actually pay attention to each and every theory that we discuss, because it will help you to do this assignment at the end of the day. Can you see the document I share?
Yes, ma'am, we can see.
Word document?
Yes, ma'am, Word document, I can see.
Right here. This is the written assignment I give you. Identify any classroom situation related to educational growth and development which needs the attention of the teacher. Describe the situation or the case in 100 to 150 words. Identify any classroom situation related to educational growth and development which needs the attention of the teacher. Describe the situation or case in 100 to 150 words. So you need some more discussions because we have discussed only Piaget's theory. There are other theories we are discussing all these 10 days. So you have to be very carefully listening. So if I take now Piaget, you can have a child who is very slow in learning the concepts. So according to Piaget, that you can think of taking the child, you're a mathematics teacher. He doesn't learn easily. So you can take the child to the language or mathematics lab and create concrete situations for him to learn mathematics. Right? So it's a classroom situation is, I teach a grade 4 class and there is Amal. It's a hypothetical one, okay, situation. And he actually is very slow in learning English. So because of that, as a remedy, as I know, according to Piaget, he is in concrete cognitive development stage. So because of that, he actually the learning can be facilitated through concrete situations created. Because of that, I actually make it a point to use a lot of visuals and realia and giving him kind of activities of related to classification, reversibility, now seriation, etc., for him to actually learn my lessons better. Here, you can actually apply that. So it's the case or the situation is also hypothetical and related to any 4 psychological theories, concepts you have studied, and explain how they will help you in understanding the problematic situation or finding a solution to the problematic situation. Do not exceed 100 words. So I have done only Piaget. So we will be doing about 10, 12 theories or more than that. So you can actually accordingly create a classroom situation and think of ways of applying 4 of the theories that you will learn and find solutions or understand the situation. Are you okay? Are you okay? Is it understood? Silence.
Ma'am can't say the questions, madam. Are you sending to the
No, I will be
assignments for the-
sending it to you. I just told you
Yeah,
what you
madam.
will be getting as the written assignment. Okay?
Okay,
I
madam.
just told you
Okay.
I will be sending the written document. So you go through it and be thorough. We try to understand what I tell you and then we'll be discussing it. Now, Eka fully understand it's okay because you have still done only one theory. So we will be discussing about 10 to 12 theories in these 10 days. Then you will have lots of applications. You can think of more classroom situations where you can tackle in a very professional manner. Then once it is done, only that you will be able to do that. Some idea you got there. Hello. Hello. Do you see the new document I have shared underlying the correct option?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
They are all on Piaget. So I will not discuss this with you. I'm sending it to you. So you can actually answer them and bring them next day. Will you be ready? It's all on Piaget and what we have discussed so far.
Okay, ma'am.
Right. I will be sending it to you through the institute. Will I be able to put it to the chat? Attach it here? No. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am,
on
you
my
can.
Yeah, it's possible, it seems. Let's see. Let's document one. So it's sent already. No? It cannot be sent because it's currently in use. Then I have, if I, wait. If I close this, I think it can be used. Is it sent? Okay, dear. Somebody has a pain, head pain, headache. Okay, it's okay. Is it sent to you?
Still not.
Okay, file from my computer and then question bank and open and send. I think it's being sent, Kiala. So you can do it leisurely at home and bring it next day. Are you okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Right, you can download it now. So is it Channa who left?
No, ma'am. I thought of leaving, but I stayed, ma'am, anyhow.
Right. You have a headache?
Yeah, ma'am. It's small. As I work today,
Why?
it's
It
okay,
was a
ma'am.
long day for you?
Yeah, ma'am. It was a long day.
Hmm. So it's all right if you can listen to the recording.
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah.
Now, cognition. So mindset, another big topic, right? Cognition. So I will actually open my PowerPoint here. Cognition. This is very important when it comes to teaching and learning. Do you see the new PowerPoint cognition?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. So what is cognition? You can see, because this is pedagogical psychology, it's related to teaching and learning. When it comes to teaching and learning, our cognitive abilities are very important. So what is cognition? I have given you some definitions. According to the American Heritage Dictionary, the 4th edition, 2000, cognition is the capacity to acquire and apply knowledge. That is what more or less happens in learning and teaching. Your students, they should be able to acquire, gain knowledge, and apply that knowledge to solve problems, problem solving, right? So that is what is all about learning and teaching. So that is what is meant by cognition. So it's worth knowing more about cognition, right? So you look at the All Words Dictionary, 2006. The ability to use memory, knowledge, experience, understanding, reasoning, imagination, and judgment in order to solve problems and adapt to new situations. The ability to use memory, knowledge, experience, understanding, reasoning, imagination, and judgment in order to solve problems and adapt new situations. That is, you will learn knowledge, experiences, understanding that you have, that you will be able to actually apply them and solve problems in new situations. That is what you get them to do in learning and teaching. So W.V. Bingham, cognition is, we shall use the term intelligence to mean the ability of an organism to solve new problems. So once again, problem solving at the end. New knowledge, you gain and keep it with you, and then you apply them and face new situations. Haggerty, sensation, perception, association, memory, imagination, discrimination, judgment, and reasoning. Problem solving, once again, no? Judgment and reasoning. So sensation, perception, association, memory, imagination. That is what is cognitive, cognition. So we are going to look at the cognitive process then. Actually, psychology explains or defines it as internal mental capacities of the individual. Internal mental capacities of the individual. It is a process. It involves a series of things, one after the other. This is how our cognition works, right? It starts with sensation and perception. It begins with sensation and perception. I will explain all that. And then what is perceived is committed to the memory. And what is committed to the memory is forgotten. We are forgetting them. It's a big issue in the classroom also. If you know how to minimize forgetting as a teacher, right? And all these things are actually promoted through the attention. So attention is a very important cognitive process, especially in learning, teaching, and problem solving and decision making and thinking. These are the cognitive processes. So it begins with sensation and then followed by perception and committing it to the memory. And what is committed to the memory is later on retrieved, used for problem solving and understanding new situations and thinking and reflecting, right? So that is what is meant by cognitive process. As teachers, if you know how it works, you can always facilitate this process of acquiring knowledge, storing knowledge, retaining knowledge, and applying that knowledge for problem solving in new situations. That is what is all about learning and teaching as well. Do you understand the introduction I have given to the cognition? I ask you a question, madams, answer. Hello? Hello? You don't hear me?
Ma'am, I can hear you.
Yeah. Now the introduction I gave to cognition, do you understand? Or do you want me to explain it again? Silence is killing.
Could you please explain it again, ma'am?
Right, okay, no problem. Now don't think in a very big way. Once we take one by one, you understand, right? But this is an introduction to what is discussed in cognition. So yeah, our topic is cognition. It is very important in pedagogical psychology because pedagogy is the art of teaching, right? So you teach for the students to learn. So it's a matter of cognition ultimately. Why do I say, by looking at all these definitions that you can say, cognition is the capacity to acquire knowledge and apply that knowledge in new situations. So in teaching also, that is what you get the learner to do. You get the learner to acquire knowledge and store them in the memory and retain that stored memory in the long-term memory for some time, for a long term. And then you want them to actually retrieve what is stored in the memory to understand and solve problems in new situations. So that is cognition. So that is what happens in teaching as well, learning, teaching as well. So in this topic, under this topic, we are going to discuss how it happens, how we actually, your students or we, acquire knowledge, store them in the memory, and use them in solving problems or new situations, understanding new situations. That is we refer to as cognition. So this cognition is a process, a series of events. It happens it starts from sensation and perception. So we have to discuss what this sensation is, what this perception is. So it starts from sensation and perception. And it actually, then it goes to the attention and memory. And then how it is used to solve problems or understand new situations. So we are going to take one by one and discuss in this topic. Do you understand? Please respond. So that is what we are going to discuss today.
Yes, ma'am. Understood.
Yeah. Others? Only one is responding. Please respond. It's not, otherwise it's not polite, no? If you don't respond.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood.
Channa, if you're there.
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Okay. Now this is what we are going to actually discuss today. It's not explained yet, but you know, we are going to look at what cognition is, and it is a process. So it starts with sensation and perception. Then we will be first discussing sensation and perception. Then it is about attention and memory and forgetting and problem solving. So this is what we are going to discuss in understanding what cognition is, as it's a process. It involves series of events. So we'll start with sensation perception because that is how the cognition begins or process begins. Okay. Now let's see sensation and perception. Okay. Sensation and perception. Now, when it comes to sensation, detecting and encoding physical energy as neural signals. If not, in simple words, sensations are what we actually receive through the 5 sensory organs. They are sensations. What we hear, what we see, what we touch, what we smell, what we taste. So for that, we have eyes, we have nose, we have mouth, like that, skin and tongue. Okay. So we get a lot of inputs through our sensations, sensory organs. They are sensations. Sensory stimuli. In the class also, now you think of where you are now. Right? There are so many sensations. But there are so many sensations. But now look at your wall. There can be a kind of insect on the wall. Look at the floor. There can be a cockroach. Right? Listen very carefully. There can be some outside noises. But at the moment, the very prominent one may be my voice and the screen that you're looking at. But there are other inputs as well in your environment. If you take a moment, for a while, think of other noises. Now I can see, I can hear a lot more, lot of things. There's a kind of, like a lot of things are there. But at the moment, your focus is on the screen and my voice maybe. The rest, you have not taken, you have not paid attention. Then you have to think like this. Sensations are the neural signals or the stimuli that you receive from all the 5 senses. There can be very many. But when it comes to sensations, you have to transform them into perception. Perception is selection, organization, and interpretation of our sensations. What it all means. Now here, think of yourself now. I told you, you are paying attention to the screen that you see and my voice. But if you really actually pay attention to the rest, there are other things. My fan is giving a noise. And then outside the room, my people are watching TV and I can hear that also now. And they are on the road, there are vehicles moving and they give some noise. Right? In the room also, I see some kind of a petta or somebody or an insect. Like that, now I see on the cupboard, on the almirah, there are some parcels. Now I'm paying attention to them. But until I actually pay attention, they are there. But I paid attention to the screen and to you all and what I talk about. So that's the difference between sensation and perception. But that is the beginning of the cognitive process. In your learning and teaching also, that is it, right? Sensations, there can be so many. Now you're teaching your students. You have some visuals to show. You write something on the board and you talk to them. But apart from that, they will be kind of watching a kind of small video on the slide from their kind of phone. Maybe that they are looking outside the class and looking at some other children playing in the grounds. And maybe that they are actually looking at something may pasted on the wall and enjoying it. A lot of things can happen. But if you don't get them to pay attention to your lesson, the visual that you show, your voice, they will not perceive it. So sensations are there. All cannot be paid attention at the same time. So they have to pay selective attention. And that selective attention paid, perception occurs. Sensations are transformed into perceptions. So now they give it all being. Further, the same thing I explained. Sensation occurs. Sensory organs absorb energy from a physical stimulus in the environment. Sensory receptors convert this energy to neural impulses and send them to the brain. And then the perception happens. The brain organizes the information and translates it into something meaningful. Now I get you to look at the next slide. So you look at it and you give it meaning. It's an example of sensation and perception that I'm talking to you about. Right? So now you read it and give it meaning. Now, what is the example I have given? Now you can read it. Now you see a light. And then you see it's a red color light. Right? You have given it meaning. A better example, maybe now you're in a classroom. Now, there are 10 students, children walking into the classroom, or the friends walking into the classroom. Your favorite color is red. So you pay attention to the girl or the friend wearing the red frock today, because your favorite color is red. So there are 10 friends walking in, but your attention is caught by the one who is in red, because you paid attention to red because it's your favorite color. So that sensation is transformed into a perception. Sujani is wearing a beautiful red frock today. The other 9, you did not pay attention. So you do not know whether Sama was in blue or green, or that you did not pay attention. Same thing happened in classroom teaching as well. You have a lot of stimuli, sensory inputs. They can't pay equal attention to all. So you have to know what are important areas of your lesson. So accordingly, you have to get them to pay attention. And then they will perceive it and give it meaning. Because equal attention to everything cannot be paid. So you have to get them to pay attention to the important areas. So how can you get them to pay attention? That's very important. So as a teacher, when you walk into the classroom, so it's not the subject matter, the knowledge of the subject that you have to think of. You have to think of how to actually give it to your students and get them to learn. For that, you have to know what are the important areas of my discussion that they should not pay, they should not miss. And on those areas, you have to have a plan to get them to pay attention. So you will raise your voice. You will write the keywords on the board. You will get them to underline the words in their textbook. You will ask a question on that because it's an important area. Once a question asked, they have to pay attention. You will show them a visual or real, yeah. These are you. You raise voice. These are used because if the attention is paid only, these things can be perceived by them and give it meaning. So your students can't pay equal attention all the time. They will not be listening to what you're telling. So our attention span is very limited. So time to time, you have to think of ways of getting their attention to the important parts of your lesson that they should not miss. So that is the role of the teacher. But most of the teachers, they think, I know my subject, so I can go on talking. So I have nothing much to think of my teaching. Misconception. It's wrong attitude, right? You have to know we have sensory inputs. They can't pay equal attention. Their attention span is also limited. We have to identify what are the areas, important areas of my lesson. So we have to get them to perceive that, give it meaning by paying attention. So you as a teacher should have a plan to get them to pay attention to the important areas that you discuss. So that is about sensation and perception. The first process of the cognitive process begins with that. So this picture also tells you how the sensations are transformed into perception. It's an activity of the brain once the sensations, it's an activity of the sensory organs. It's transformed into perception. You get them to pay attention and pass it on to the brain and get them to give it meaning. That is perception. Okay? Right. Look at this picture. Okay, look at this picture. This picture. At first sight, what did you see? At first sight, what did you see? I want each and every one of you to tell me. At first sight, don't think twice. What did you see? Yeah.
Two people.
Give your name and what do you see?
Two people.
What's your name?
Nirupuli.
Nilupili sees two faces. Okay. Others?
I see two people faces seeing each other.
Right. What's your name, darling?
I'm Shamali.
Okay, then next.
I'm Sanjula.
Mm.
I can see two faces as well as some container or something.
All right. At first sight, what did you see? Ekaparanam at a glance. Now you're thinking, no?
Yeah. At once I see the two faces.
Two faces. What about Channa if you're there?
I also see the same, ma'am. Two faces.
All right. So, very good. Now here, you have a very good kind of insight here as a teacher. Now here, this is Gestalt psychology. Gestalt is a kind of, we discuss 4 major schools of thought. No, it's not a major one, but it's also school of thought, right? It's a sub school of thought of cognition. And according to this Gestalt psychology, right? This is how we perceive things. Now, this is about sensation and perception. So, you know, in teaching, perception is very important. Sensation should be transformed into perception by getting them to pay attention. But look at this. Here, this is how you perceive things, right? This is called the figure ground. You can write it, figure ground concept. What do you call it? Figure ground.
Figure ground.
Figure ground concept in Gestalt. Okay, figure ground. Now here the figure is the vase, the white space. Figure is the vase. Okay. Ground is the two faces, the black part. Ground, the two faces. Now anything we want to perceive, it is presented in what we should perceive is the figure. It is always presented in ground. Okay, what we want to actually perceive is the figure, but the figure is always presented in the ground. Now in your case, in this case, the figure is the vase. Figure is the vase. The vase is presented in the ground. The ground is the two faces. What did you all perceive? The figure or the ground?
Ground.
Ground. That is the danger. Now, when you do a lesson, right? When you do a lesson, you will present your lesson. And your lesson is the figure. But to present the figure, you have to have the ground as well. But you do not know what your students will perceive. Whether they will perceive the figure you wanted them to perceive, or they will perceive the ground instead. I will give you an example here. Now, you are an English teacher. You want your students to learn in that particular lesson how to form the simple present tense, active voice, verb in a sentence. It is S form or base form. It's a grade 6 class. So you want your students to learn that. So in your lesson plan, you will write at the end of the lesson, students will be able to form the appropriate verb in simple present active voice. They're going to S form, the base form. For you to teach, that is the ground. That is the figure. That is what you want your students to perceive, learn, right? No, that is the figure. But you can't present the figure without the ground. So you will actually to teach, whether it's the S form or the base form in simple present tense, you will actually get them to listen to a kind of the daily routine of a famous, a very well-known figure. So it's a girls' class. So they all like fashion. So you will talk about a very well-known fashion model or somebody and how she spends the day. You actually discuss it. You get them to listen to that. You talk about it to get them to learn the figure, that is how to form S form simple present active verb. So there can be, so the ground is that daily routine of that well-known popular figure, right? But the figure is, you want them to learn how to form the simple present active verb. But there can be students, those who pay attention to the ground as you all perceive this, right? They will actually learn about how that famous or popular person spends the day, not how to form the verb in simple present active. That happens in many lessons. I have been a teacher, mentor, or observing lessons. That's my job, a part of my job, right? So I'm still doing that. And most of the lessons I observe, the students, they do not learn what the teacher wants them to learn. Why? Figure, that is what they are supposed to learn. You write them in the lesson plans as specific objectives. At the end of the lesson, students will be able to do, kiala. But the students, they don't learn it because the teachers, they have not actually thought about this figure ground concept. So figure is the objective of the lesson that you're conducting. Ground is how you present it. But the students, if you don't get them to pay attention to the figure, if the teacher doesn't have a plan for that, to get the attention of the students to the figure, the students will not learn what they are supposed to learn. They will pay attention to the rest, the ground. Did you get my point?
Yes, ma'am.
Or every one of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So in some other module, maybe in methodology or lesson planning or whatever, that you will be doing, applying what you learned today in them. So a very good teacher, maybe in methodology that you will learn it, or maybe practical component of writing assessments, maybe that you all have learned it in some other program that you have followed. You have to write lesson plans. In the lesson plans, the most important component is, in this lesson, what my students will be able to learn. It will be able to learn to do. That's at the end of specific objectives. So they are the figure, right? So a very good teacher, you can't just walk in just because that you know the subject matter. You have to know, I'm going to teach this. I want my students to learn these things. So you have to have a plan to get them to pay attention to these important areas of the lesson. Otherwise, they will pay attention to the ground, not to the figure. Okay? So how to get their attention? You have to know. You have to first know what are the important areas that they should not miss. So you can show them a visual aid. You can raise your voice. You can ask them a question. You can write it on the board. You can get the students to actually underline something which is important. And time to time, you can actually draw a kind of a diagram to show the important areas. Then they will actually pay attention to that and they will perceive it, give meaning to it. That is the beginning of learning and acquiring knowledge and committing it to the memory. If though you present everything, sensations are there, sensory inputs are there, if they don't pay attention and perceive it, what will happen? Nothing else can happen. They can't send it to the memory. They can't store it in the memory. They can't actually retrieve it and solve problems and understand new situations. That will not happen if you don't get them to actually pay attention and perceive, give it meaning. So as a teacher, this is the beginning of the acquiring and processing information. That is what should happen in learning and teaching. So if you ignore the fact that you have to get their attention and get them to perceive the sensation, sensory inputs that what you're talking, what you're showing them, if they don't perceive them, there will be no learning. No learning can happen. So a very good teacher, if you want to be a successful teacher, just because that you know the subject matter and go on talking, it won't happen. You have to get them to pay attention and perceive the important areas of what you present. Otherwise, it cannot be committed to the memory and to use it later on in other situations. So that is the role of the teacher. You think role of the teacher is knowing the subject matter. No, that won't work. Got the point?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Okay. Then here we have another topic, Gestalt laws of perception. Gestalt is a sub-school of psychology, not a big one, the 4 major parts, but Gestalt. There are 4 main psychologists into this, right? And according to Gestalt laws, you can actually facilitate perception in the class. You can facilitate perception, like you have sensations you bring to the class. You can get them to perceive them. If you consider these laws put forwarded by Gestalt psychologists. So there are several Gestalt laws that facilitate perception. But what is more applicable? What is more applicable in pedagogical psychology, right? That is teaching and learning. I have selected 5 of them. And for that, actually, I really can give you a small explanation. It's a homework given to you. Before you have another 3 days now, you can watch a video clip that I send you. I will send you the link. I will send you a small activity sheet. And you all have to listen and complete the task and bring. Is it too much? Because I have already given you Piaget's questions also. If it is too much, we can discuss it in the class next day. Because you have other work also. If it is not too much, it's a very 15-minute work. I can send you the link and the activity sheet and you can watch that and complete it and bring. For example, Gestalt law of proximity, law of continuity, law of pregnance, law of similarity, figure ground. Those 5, how they can be applied, what they mean, and how it can be applied in promoting perception in the classroom. So shall we discuss it the next day as it's too much for you? Or can I send it to you as a work to be done by you and then have a discussion? Apo, please respond, will you?
Let's discuss, ma'am.
In class?
Yeah.
Right, okay. So I'm not sending that then, okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Right then, it's almost actually 9:23. Then we can't go to a big topic again, new big topic. But we will be actually discussing Gestalt laws of perception. Not all these perceptions, what are related to us. That is the 5 main, which can be applied in pedagogical, if not teaching and learning. I will be we will be discussing it next day. So after that, we will discuss how memory works by looking at a stage model of memory, how memory works. So if you know how memory works, you can facilitate committing information into the memory for the later use for solving problems and understanding new situations. That is what is expected in teaching and learning. So we will be discussing next day how Gestalt laws, how to promote perception, facilitate perception through the application of Gestalt laws. And then we will be discussing how our memory works through the discussion of one of the models of memories. Right? It helps you to understand what's to be done in the class to help them to actually commit the information into the memory for later use. And how to minimize forgetting. That will be the topic of next week. And in the meantime, I'm sending you the 2 assignments. One is presentation, one is written assignment. I will be sending it to you. You go through it and try to understand it. And if you can't understand, next day we can discuss that also. Because you can start working on that right now. Then you have enough time to finish it, complete it before the module ends, before the written examination. So any questions? I don't think that I have to go to a new topic here. Because of that, I'm asking whether you have any questions.
For me, no more any questions, ma'am.
Do you understand what I'm discussing? Is it too much for you? I don't know, because we have hardly met and just online. And what I'm discussing, is it clear to you, or you think that they are difficult? I want your...
No, ma'am, all are clear. The way you are teaching is very interesting. Actually, no any questions to ask you.
Thank you. Now I'm asking, anyway, this is what you're supposed to learn. Then you can see they are very useful in your teaching as well. What we discuss, will they be very useful in your teaching?
Of course, ma'am.
Yeah. So we will be discussing at each and every topic that we discuss, how it's applied in the classroom teaching and learning. That is what we are going to discuss. So don't miss. And I see a new name here. Sanji Priyanka, is it your first day? Sanji Priyanka?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. Today is my first day. They have joined me Sinhala medium group.
I
Here,
didn't get you.
madam.
Sinhala medium?
Yes, they have here, madam. They have joined me Sinhala medium one.
So
That's
you all
why.
English medium ones, no?
So this
Right,
is
okay,
my
no
first day. I
problem. But
informed
don't
them.
miss.
Then after that, they
But
joined me for the
Sanji, this
English
is
medium.
what I'm asking. Collect all the material and don't wait till we finish. Finish what we have done and be thorough with them. Because if you can understand what I discuss, it's all focused. So you can go for a very good grade. You're prepared for that in my sessions. Because of that, it's a must that if you want to actually take up my examination paper and my assignments, you have to be thorough with what I'm said with, okay? My word of advice for you, Sanji. Then I
Okay,
think
thank you, madam.
top for the day. As homework, I have sent you Piaget's questionnaire. Questions, not sorry, questionnaire, questions. So you do it on your own. If you can't do that, you can refer to the material and the recording and then try to do that. So by doing that, you will learn what we discuss on Piaget. Okay, that's the purpose. So the next day we will complete cognition. It has lots of implications for teaching and teachers. So without fail, please join. I'm not sending the video because you're not free to do that. So we will make it a classroom discussion. Okay.
Okay,
Can
ma'am,
I
that's great.
stop for the day and you can take 2 Panadols, Channa, and take a rest after my session.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. But I listen
Okay,
to
then.
everything.
Thank you. Good night, every one of you. Bye. See you.
Good night,
Good
ma'am.
night, ma'am.
Right.
Good night,
Good
ma'am.
night, ma'am.